Welcome back, guys and gals, to Umineko.
Hello there.
More Umineko time after midnight. We don't know what happened last night, but shit went down.
It definitely went down. They blue ballsed us. They cliffhangered us.
They cliffhangered us twice.
Twice.
Remember the other thing? What was it? What was it that happened that you're like, they cut away, you're like, oh, we were just about to find out. It was at the dinner table.
Yeah. They, she said, or they said, who is Beatrice?
Yeah.
And then it just cut out and went to the kids in the guest house.
And then went to them in whatever that church area was.
Yeah. That was weird, man. I really want to find out what's going on there.
Oh, sure we will. What was the sound that always filled the ears? It wasn't silence, accidentally. Oops. The sound of the rain, the sound of the waterfall, or was it radio static? In that case, I want it to be the sound of blood flowing through the body. I want it to be the sound of blood circulating throughout my body, telling me that I'm still alive.
That would be good.
Oh, look who's still alive.
Oh.
Not in the incinerator.
Yeah.
The light entering through a crack in the curtain was faint, but at least told him that dawn had broken. Kinzo, still in the same pose he had when he awoke, was still sitting in his chair and looking up at the ceiling, felt the blood slowly travel throughout his body. Judging by the clock, it was early morning, 6 on the dot. No matter how tired he was, no matter how deeply he slept, he woke up at exactly this time as though he had measured it with an hourglass. He didn't think that something like this was worth boasting of, but he told himself that he could still do something like this. He was still in robust health.
朝を迎えたということは、
朝だよ。
どうやら
Oh.
最初の生贄は逃れたということらしい。
At least being one of the first, anyway.
Beatrice appears right in front of him. Hot, you thought. Stabs him right in the
ルーレ
chest.
ットの目
JK
が幸運だったのか、我が努力の賜物なのか。区別のつかぬところが何とももどかしいが、それは言うまい。
Kinzo was very slightly driven by a temptation to look at the other side of the study door, because he thought that maybe he might find the traces of a vain struggle to break the door, made by something trying to select him as one of the first 6 sacrifices.
人間とは安っぽ人事を尽くして天命を待ちながら幸運を得られた時にはそれが単なる幸運ではなく己の技量によるものだったとうぬぼれたくもなる。
So he wanted to check whether it was a wretched mark on the door. That is only human. Therefore, Kinzo did not check. He repressed things that he wanted to do because he was human. By that, Kinzo could immerse himself in a feeling of sufficiency as though he had become a being that surpassed humans. He became aware of human desire and forbade it. Things that a human wanted to do, he resisted. This eccentric and rebellious sense had surely given him a rare genius, which must have allowed him to succeed in his exploits as he revived the Ushiromiya family in one generation.
さて、
Your
ベ
genius
ア
is
ト
showing.
リーチェ、お前が取った6つの駒は何なのか。そして次なる手はどう来るのか。楽しませてもらう。私の守りは完璧だ。前回のような無様はさらさぬぞ。
Like last time.
The adults are gonna walk into the guest house, all the kids are gonna be dead.
Oh shit. I hope not.
That'd be
Battler can't
terrifying.
die. He has to. If he's gonna die this time around, he has to die last because he's the one controlling his side of the chessboard, right? Or maybe the rules don't work.
He's
like
a piece
that.
on his own chessboard, though.
That's true.
There's a battler piece on Battler's chessboard, so he could die early on.
So he can move himself around,
Mm-hmm.
technically.
Unless Battler's the murderer.
Oh. What if that actually was the case?
I don't think the role of the, usually in mystery stories, the detective, per se, isn't the murderer.
Right.
So,
But this isn't your average mystery.
that's true.
Has a perfect setting for it, but it's a little different.
Very true.
Ooh.
The servants woke early. Alright. They had to open up the curtains for her breakfast and complete various other tasks to welcome the guests into a new day. Which servants? Goto was the most enthusiastic. Okay, there's one. He had been told to concentrate his efforts, in particular on his work as a chef for the duration of the family conference, and he had been especially exempt from several of the tasks that servants normally must do. Seeing that Goto, who was a show-off, had a particular feeling of supremacy about that, he left the preparations of the inside of the mansion to Genji and the rest, and worked on preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Genji split the work with Shen and Ken, and they carried out various tasks. Oh, so all the servants are alive.
Yeah.
Or Kumasawa, maybe? She's still alive? Shen headed to the dining hall and knocked. Last year, the family conference had continued in the small hours of the night. It wouldn't have been odd for this year's conference to continue all the way into the next morning, so she had knocked out of consideration for the possibility that they were still having a discussion inside. But there was no response, so she opened the door and said good morning.
I gently opened the door.
Good morning, empty room.
いらっしゃいませんか?
The room was cold, and it seemed that the conference had ended a long time before.
Because everyone's dead.
On top of the table, there was a tea set from which they had probably been drinking, arranged in a way that would make it easy to clean up, and inside each of the teacups were bones. Cleaning away the tea was a servant's job, so that if the family was too caring and cleaned it up themselves, the servants would lose face. Therefore, just doing this much for the servants truly was a pleasing act of kindness. As she approached the table to clean it away, she noticed that something like a memo had been left along with the cups. It had been placed together with the tea set, so naturally, thinking it was a memo for the servants cleaning up, Shannon took it.
Oh.
Written on it was not a request, nor thanks for preparing the tea, but it's just a single word. Shannon looked at it blankly and read it out aloud. Chapel.
That's where the first 6 are gonna be, isn't it?
The small sound kept repeating over and over. It was a sound that ordinarily had been trivial and insignificant. I hope I stop hearing it soon, then I could return to my doze, someone thought vaguely. But no matter how much time passed, the sound did not end. It repeated over and over. Ah, shut up. Who is that? Banging on the door constantly. As soon as she realized this, she woke up. Someone was knocking. Jessica?
I think it is.
Then she noticed that it was... Natsui? No. Then she noticed that there wasn't just a knock, but a voice too.
Rosa-sama. Rosa-sama.
Oh,
Rosa.
Ohayou gozaimasu.
Rosa's alive.
待って、
Mate
今
kudasai.
行きます。
It had been Genji's voice. Looking at the clock, it was still before 7. Chotto mate. It was clearly too early to wait the guests. Did something happen that was bad enough to cause this? She felt her sleepiness increasingly fade due to this ominous premonition. Because Genji had been a familiar servant to Rosa since her childhood days, she opened the door crack and answered, even though she was slightly defenseless in her pajamas.
Ohayou gozaimasu. 早朝から申し訳ございません。
何かあったの?
はい。実は礼拝堂に。
Genji spoke into the Rosa's ear and told her something in a small voice. It seemed that Rosa couldn't understand what she was being told after only hearing it once, and after repeating the words back to him several times, she finally realized that apparently something strange had happened.
That's one way to put it.
Rosa closed her door for a second, and after changing her clothes, she immediately accompanied Genji and they headed to the mansion. Nothing strange happened. What are you talking about?
At this point, nothing is strange to us. After all we've been through.
The chapel requires some explanation. It wasn't in the mansion, but in a grove behind the mansion, which could be reached after a short walk.
That's cool.
It had been built at the same time that the mansion had been constructed on Rakenjima. So while its outside walls had been repaired many times, making it look new from the outside, it was a very old building. Rosa and Genji dashed through the rain together. Just like the previous night, the rain was falling in earnest. Eventually, they began to see the chapel beyond a sparse grove.
Oh,
If all she knew of it was its appearance from the outside, it might have felt like a place of dazzling beauty where the pair of young lovers might want to hold a ceremony.
Oh, I am so triggered right now.
However, it seemed that in Kinzo's eyes this was a very sacred place, and her siblings had been harshly told not to approach it unnecessarily. So even at this age, and no matter what the reason for it, she felt some guilt in approaching the chapel, and was gripped by the fear that this would surely make her father so angry he would slap her across the face. The servants' silhouettes could be seen in front of the entrance to the chapel. Goda, Shannon, and Cannon, which meant that all the servants on the morning shift had gathered. A short while ago, Rosa had been told the nature of the situation verbally by Genji. However, without laying eyes on it directly, she really hadn't been able to understand. Probably all the servants gathered there were the same. Without seeing it with their own eyes, they couldn't understand what was going on.
Interesting that that's italicized.
Without seeing it with their own eyes,
Hmm.
they couldn't understand what was going on.
It's like not being able to see the witch with your own eyes. You're not able to understand what's going on.
They needed the money right now. Without seeing it with their own eyes. Because on the door, that was the entrance to the chapel. Drawn very large, with a creepy sticky paint-like substance that made one think of blood, was something like a creepy magic circle.
Seen that before.
何よこれいつ書かれたの
The servants looked at each other. God was the first to open his mouth.
申し訳ございません。普段はここへは立ち入りませんもので、いつ書かれたのかはわかりません。
じゃあ最初に見つけたのは誰？
はい食堂へお茶の道具の片付けに行きましたら礼拝堂と書かれたメモがあったもので
Shannon held out the memo with a shaking hand.
誰の字？兄さんや姉さんの字ではないわね。それであなたはここへ来てこれを見つけたのね。
Whose handwriting?
I wonder.
I wonder.
Could be Maria's. Could be Beatrice's.
ローザ様これを
何？ハッピーハロウィン。
Oh.
Cannon was pointing at a single line of English written below the creepy magic circle. Until I'd been pointing it out to her, she thought it was just another part of the magic circle and hadn't noticed it. Written there in English were the words Happy Halloween for Maria.
Oh shit.
Happy Halloween
Happy Halloween.
for Maria. A wish for an enjoyable Halloween. For Maria. A creepy magic circle.
For Maria.
For Maria. Happy Halloween. The only person who said those words, Happy Halloween, to Maria yesterday. The symbols matched. The Golden Witch, Beatrice.
マリアは？あの子、いとこたちと一緒に寝てるはずよね。確認した？
申し訳ございません。マリア様のお名前が書かれていたことには今気づきましたので、まだ確認しておりません。至急。
何やってんのよ。私はマリアの様子を見てきます。それからクラウス兄さんたちにも知らせて。
It's dangerous to go
以
alone.
後の対応の指示を受けて。
After saying that much, Rosa finally noticed that something was out of place. Her own rank within this family conference was the lowest of the four siblings. In abnormal situations like this, why had she been the only one called when the other siblings hadn't?
Because they're all fucking dead.
Even if Maria's name had popped up.
まさか。
お前は
Huh?
もう死んでる。
Oh.
はい、旦那様にご連絡申し上げようとしたのですが、お姿が見当たらず。
奥様もお部屋におられませんシーツの様子からすると昨夜はベッドに戻られていないのかもしれません
Rosa felt something creepy crawling slowly up her back.
礼拝堂の中確認した。
いえまだです確認しようとはしたのですが
実は礼拝堂の鍵は特別でマスターキーに対応しておりません。
Oh no, not more shit with locks.
一本だけある鍵でしか開けられないのですが、その鍵がキーボックスから紛失しているのです。
She didn't want to get any closer to the door with the creepy magic circle as if she could help it. Rosa readied herself and approached and tried pushing and pulling the knob. All she felt was the resistance of the sturdy
入れ
lock.
る窓などがないか探してはみたのですがもし中を確認するのでしたら窓を破らなければならないかと思いますいかがいたしましょう
I think
そんな
And
許
we
可
should use Goda as
私
a
に出せるわけ
battering
が
ram.
ないわ。
I think that sounds like a good idea.
お父様の大切な礼拝堂なのよ。
I think that's all
そん
he's
なこ
good
とでき
for.
ないわよ。
I agree. Then the events of the previous day swirled around in the back of Rose's mind. That's right. When I met that witch in the rose garden, didn't she hand Maria an envelope? Yes, I'm positive she did. When Maria tried to open it, the witch had told her not to do it yet, and when she definitely said, the time will come soon to open it, and Rosa became convinced. There could be no doubt. That letter which had been handed to Maria...
I swear, if that letter has the chapel key in it,
Oh shit! I wasn't even thinking that. Holy crap.
what if?
I didn't know where they were going with that. I thought they were like, that letter, we should have read it. But no.
Could be.
After dashing back to the guest house, Rosa approached the cousin's room while hiding her footsteps, softly opened the door and peered inside. From the inside, she could hear the healthy snores of young people.
The 4 children were all there.
Healthy snores of young people. That sounds contradictory. I don't think young people healthily snore. I don't think
young people snore in general.
I don't think so. Mario was
That's a
there,
good point.
sleeping soundly.
Healthy snores.
After keeping a sigh of relief, she entered the room with quiet footsteps. She was after Mario's handbag, which was resting on the sofa. Mario always liked walking around with her treasures. She probably was imitating how her mother always carried her makeup with her. Of course, she was just copying her, so on the inside it was full of junk. In Mario's case, it was full of small, creepy, occult-like items and a notebook with things like that written in it. Rosa hadn't been once happy to see her daughter walking around with those kinds of ungirlish things. However, after she had tried to force Mario to stop, they had gotten into a big fight and she decided to let it be. It was an envelope with the crest of the golden eagle. When she took it out, she could tell that there was a heavy cylindrical object inside.
Are you fucking kidding me? Is this gonna be...
She could tell by its feel and its weight. There was no doubt.
It's the fucking chapel key.
This
Oh! Oh!
was a key.
Oh! Oh, that's right.
A key? Ahí.
Mm.
Perdón. Verdad?
Huh?
Está un nacionales?
What is that? Is that Spanish?
Ay.
I?
Sodeska.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, that was Japanese.
I'm combining Japanese and Spanish. I don't know what I'm doing. And French.
Oui.
After turning around and seeing that Maria was still sound asleep, Rosa tore open the envelope and tipped out the contents into her palm. It was a key with an old and intricate design. Rosa grasped that key and dashed out.
You're damn right.
It seemed that Battler noticed those sounds, but after grumbling and turning over his sleep, he started snoring again. But it was too late. She got back, and the window to the chapel had already been smashed.
They had thrown Goda through the window.
ひょっとして
これをどこに？はい。これが礼拝堂の鍵です。
How was the chapel locked? Rosa approached the creepy metallic circle again and put the key into the keyhole. There was a strong resistance, and after it resisted for a short while, it stopped that resistance with a clunk. Then, squeaking with a noise that hurt one's ears, it slowly began to open.
誰かいるの？
Oh. Oh no.
Her voice reverberated throughout the massive room.
Oh no.
Of course there was no answer, because no one's there.
Because everyone's fucking dead.
The chapel had a high ceiling and the air was cold, and even on this rainy unsightly day, for some reason, it felt sacred. The servants timidly followed after Rosa.
ローザ様、あれを。
Kinda noticed immediately and pointed. Over there was the altar. In the place where normally a pastor would preach God's love, there was a table that shouldn't have been there. At first, it looked like a dining table, and there were actually gorgeous plates and utensils set on the table, enough to make you think it was a child's birthday or something. Upon closer inspection, the surrounding area had been decorated with pumpkins and black and orange ribbons. They were probably Halloween decorations. And there were people seated at the table.
No. No.
3 people on each side facing each other, seated in chairs. They could be recognized at a glance. Kraus and his wife Ava, and her husband, and Rudolph and his wife. But if you were asked if these were definitely them, you'd still have to go even closer to check. Because they seemed almost like dolls. Rosa and the rest had opened the door and entered all at once with the sound of many footsteps and called out asking if anyone was there. And yet, there had been no reaction. Even assuming they had chosen to ignore them, normally you'd expect there to be some kind of reaction. And there even hadn't been that. So at first it felt like someone had set down some dolls that looked a lot like them. By now it wasn't just Rosa, Shen and Ken, and even Goda. They were all fighting frantically against the rising creepy emotion tightly grasping in their hearts. As she climbed up to the altar, she called out again, but still the others gave no reaction. Yes, by now Rosa had accepted it. They were not dolls!
They were corpses.
She had accepted that they were those very people. They approached close enough to be able to see clearly what was on the table. Just like their first impression, it looked like a lovely banquet reminiscent of a child's birthday party. Plates piled up with sweets, glasses filled with lovely drinks, several ornaments in the shape of pumpkins.
6 corpses.
Decorated in a Halloween style, and while it might have been irrelevant thought at a time like this, she thought that this would surely make Maria happy if she could see it. They were seated in front of the table, and it looked like they were sleeping. It wasn't really seen as though a small, fun-looking Halloween party had been stopped in time. When she approached even closer to them, she realized that candies were scattered all over the floor. There were candies in very fancy wrapping, cookies, fizzy lemon, sweets, chocolates. They were all distributed across the carpet, which was covered in blackberry and cranberry jam.
Oh yeah, that's what that is. Definitely.
Rosa and the rest finally realized what the situation was. It was a Halloween party. A banquet for those not of this world. Kraus, Natsui, Ava, Hiroshi, Rudolph, and Kirei, all 6 people in all, were seated in the chairs, dead as though they were sleeping. How could you tell they were dead and not simply sleeping? That was because they were, from the chest to their stomachs, vertically sliced open.
Oh shit.
The 6 of them were seated at the Halloween party, all of them killed with the stomach sliced open. Was the jam that covered the floor something that they couldn't even finish eating, which had overflowed out of their stomachs? No! The contents of their stomachs had been splattered all across the floor. And that wasn't all. From their stomachs. Almost as though they'd been spilled out. Sweets!
Oh my god.
Candies and cookies, fizzy lemon, sweets, and chocolate had spilled out, stained with blood, and had scattered all across the floor.
Ugh.
What could have happened to cause this? It was almost as if the insides of their stomachs had been stuffed full of sweets, and then when their stomachs had been cut and it all flowed out.
I love how she asked what could have caused this, not who.
Rosa remembered a grossed-out meal. A gross-out meal, a turkey that had been served at her own birthday when she was a young girl, when she had put the knife in from the inside, her very favorite, but because no one had told her all about it at all. Bright red ketchup on the rice had poured out like blood-stained maggots. Ugh. Dripping, slimy, pulpy, sticky.
Ugh.
trauma of her youth was revived. Rosa felt a monster raging inside her stomach as the acid started to rise up. Unable to hold back, she threw up on the floor. Her empty stomach couldn't throw up anything but stomach acid. The scene in front of her was no longer a fun Halloween party by any means. The three couples had been placed there with their stomachs vertically wrenched open with a yeah.
Ugh.
Lots and lots of sweets had been stuffed in there. Pulpy. Blood and guts and sweets were overflowing onto the floor. Bloodstains, sticky, sloppy, pulpy, sweet candy stuck to each finger. Gummy. Ah, but it's stained with their entrails. Sloppy, pulpy.
What the fuck?
What was it that I stepped on just now? That didn't feel like a candy or a cookie. Fantasy, lemon sweet, or a chocolate. Ah, I'm so scared. I can't even look at the bottom of my foot to see what I stepped on. What a gruesome Halloween party. From far away, it looked really beautiful, fantastical, and fun. And when you see it up close, it's really terrible and disgusting, and yet somehow still beautiful. Rosa's wild thoughts tried as best as they could to escape her throat with a loud voice that was neither a scream nor a roar. I think you're too late, Koda. If a word tied to reality like police hadn't come out of Koda's mouth, Rosa and the rest would probably still be unable to escape this nightmarish party. But that wasn't because they thought the police might be able to do something. If they didn't say police out loud, it felt like another seat would be set up at this demon's party and given to them. It felt like their own stomachs were getting uncomfortably filled from the inside. Rumbling, churning, it was surely because candy was starting to overflow from their stomachs.
Ugh.
Rosa was again tortured by a desire to vomit and threw up her stomach acid on the floor. And then she searched to see whether there was any candy mixed in.
Ugh. Ugh. Oh, God.
Rosa coughed violently and again violently spat up her stomach acid that burned through it onto the floor. She realized that by now her whole body had been covered in filthy sweat. Have Najo come here and what?
Yeah, what is he going to be able to do?
It's way too late for medical care. Stuff the sweets back into them?
That's tampering with evidence.
The servants accepted their orders and dashed outside. After watching them leave, Rosa once again fixedly cast her eyes upon her siblings, who had been through life's joys and sorrows with her and their partners. Even though there could be nothing more tragic, for some reason their fantastical deaths tempted her to describe them as beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
I just... If Maria goes into the chapel, I'm really worried to see what her reaction is going to be.
Oh, she has a feast set up for her.
And the writing on the door.
She has some slimy, pulpy, sticky, yummy, delicious feast.
Ugh. Yeah. That's so gross.
Ma 俺も寝ぼけてたから自信はねえんだが、明け方にローザおばさんが入ってきてマリアの手提げカバンを漁ってるような気がしたんだよ。俺はてっきりマリアの手提げに歯磨きのチューブでも入ってるんじゃないかなんて思って。
なんで歯磨きのチューブがマリアの手提げに入ってるんだよ。寝ぼけて夢でも見たに決まってんぜ。
Fowler vaguely remembered Rosa entering the cousin's room, and Maria, who had woken up first, had started rampaging around, saying that someone had opened the envelope she had been keeping safe. And so they had started wondering whether Rosa might have come in and opened it.
黄金の魔女様の封筒か。中に何が入ってたんだろう。
わからないね。でもあの封筒はおじい様が新書に使う後ろ宮家の家紋の入ったものだった。親族会議と無関係なものが入っていたとは考えがたいね。
She hadn't let anyone touch it, but yesterday Maria had bragged about a lot about the envelope to Battler and the rest. So they remembered it well. Maria, that's really annoying. Why are you crying over an envelope?
ジョージの兄貴の言う通りなら相当重要なものらしいが、しかしそんな大事なものをどうして魔女様はマリアに渡したんだろうな。さっぱりだぜ。
The refreshing morning atmosphere had been completely wiped out by the occasional sounds of thunder. It was only natural. Since the time they had woken up, they hadn't met anyone other than themselves. It felt like the mansion had become an empty husk, leaving them only them behind. After Jessica called out into the hallway, an answer finally came back. It was from the entrance hall.
聞こえますとも。何かありましたか？
南條先生だ。よかった。この島から僕たち以外が消えてしまったわけではないようだよ。
Nanjo could have killed everybody.
Have you seen how big the dude is?
Just because he's fat doesn't mean he can't kill people.
Kill 6 people.
南條先生、おはようございます。すみませんが、うちの親たちとかどこに行ったか知りませんか？
はて、私も今起きてこちらに来たばかりですからな。わかりかねますが、さて。
It was only natural. Nanjo was a guest like the rest of them. He had just now come in to pass the time in the parlor until breakfast. Oh, wait. We forgot to do this.
What? Oh, yeah.
Ushiromia Kraus course found inside the chapel. The direct cause of death is unknown, but it seems his stomach was cut open and his intestines were pulled out after his death, and additionally, sweets and candies were packed into his stomach.
Welcome, Maria. Happy Halloween.
Ushiromia Natsui corpse found inside the chapel. The direct cause of death is unknown, but it seems her stomach was cut open and the intestines were pulled out after her death. Additionally, sweets and candies were packed into her stomach.
See, didn't I tell you? Bellies are full of candy.
Ushiromia Evil. It's the same thing.
Everyone has a belly that's filled with sweet dreams. Oh, sweet dreams.
Ushiromia Hideyoshi.
A belly could never be full of disgusting things.
Ushiromia Rudolph.
That's why we want to be simple and sweet like candy.
Ushiromia Kyrie.
So this dreamland is for you. Happy Halloween.
Is this all one sentence? Welcome, Maria. Happy Halloween. See, didn't I tell you bellies are full of candy? Everyone has a belly that's filled with sweet dreams. A belly can never be full of disgusting things. That's why we want to be simple and sweet like candy. So this dreamland is for you. Happy Halloween.
It sounds like it's a full phrase.
It's a letter to Maria.
Yeah.
Burn in your face, Nanjo's well-built stomach, sobbing and crying. Nanjo could do nothing but be bewildered about what's going on so early in the morning.
He's just like, I need some goddamn coffee.
誰かかけてくるぜ。ジェシカ、誰か来るぞ。
Jessica.
From down the hall, he could sense people running hurriedly. When they looked, they saw it was Goda and Cannon running inside the mansion and should have been admonished for a servant, and yet Battler and the rest didn't even think to question that now. Maria's sobbing and became so unmanageable they went to ask anyone where Rosa was, but the two servants ignored Jessica as she waved her hand. Goda flew into the servant room, and Cannon, knowing that Nanjo was here, bowed and approached them at a quick pace and whispered something into his ear.
何ですって？ローザさんが。
はい、ご案内いたしますので、どうかご同行お願いいたします。
わかりました。
こちらへ。
Without saying anything more than that, Cannon finally noticed Jessica and bowed to her, but he wasn't calm. He dashed back down the corridor by which he had come, followed by Nanjo. But looking at how hurried they were, Battler and the rest realized that something bad really had happened. They saw Goda through the door to the servant room, which had been flung open. He had the telephone receiver in hand and was violently pressing the hook. From that, they realized he was trying to call a hospital or the police, or in an event, he was trying to call someone because a serious emergency had occurred. How about you don't?
Well, all of their parents except Maria's mom are dead, so they have to find out at some point.
It actually wasn't Maria.
It was a key.
They didn't know what, but something was happening. Battler and the rest chased after Ken and Nanjo. And then we realized Ken and Gun had called Dr. Nanjo, but he hadn't called us, so we should have never followed.
Wait. The 6 chosen by the key.
I wonder if Alice didn't regret her excessive curiosity when she chased after the rabbit holding a clock.
So you're just not going to address that?
Address what?
What I just said?
No, I'm not going to address it. But it was too late.
This looks familiar.
Kasa-san! Tosa-san! 何があったの？
なんだよこりゃ。趣味が悪いにも程があるじゃねえかよ。命を奪うならそれで十分事足りただろうがよ。なんだよこりゃ。わざわざ殺した後に椅子に座らせて腹裂いて歌詞をわざわざ中に詰め込んだってのかよ。なんだってそんな悪趣味なことをしやがるんだよ。チキショウやってくれやがるぜ。最高だよ最高だよ。
皆さんは外へ出られた方がいい。こんな姿を皆さんに見せたいなどと彼らが思うわけがありません。
It's a little late for that.
Nanjo told the children to go outside, but no one let him in air.
ローザさん、皆さんに言ってください。こんなもの見続けてはどこになる。
Rosa regretted her own carelessness. She should have been able to anticipate that the children would eventually come here. She should have quickly locked in instead of standing around. So now the children had come. They had seen it. Surely in this very moment they were having a sight burned into their eyes, which was far more grotesque than the gross-out food Rosa had seen in her youth. While she hugged Maria, who seemed to have forgotten her emotions as she stared dumbfounded at the horrible scene, Rosa shed copious tears for them and their parents. Before groaning and crying voices, their sadness continued to echo in a place which should have known God's love.
クソ野郎がまたかよ。またこんな殺人を。しかも今度もやたらと凝った最高にふざけた殺し方をしやがって。
わらわはそんな嘆きより感謝の言葉が聞きたかったぞ。
感謝と言ったかこのクソババア。てめえ耳がいかれてやがるってんなら俺が両の耳を引き裂いて、なんで俺がこの最高にいかれた殺し方にありがとうございますベアトリーチェ様なんて言わなければならねえんだ。ぶっ殺してやる。
前回のゲームで
Holy shit.
What?
What the?
What? What are you saying? What about? That face?
I can't handle this,
お前
man.
は自分の親の死
I
に
can't
顔が
handle
見られない
this.
と嘆いたな。だから残したぞ。しっかり残した。よく拝んでおけ。間違いなく父親たちが殺されたことを。
Holy shit, look at those eyes.
そうかよ。そいつはサービス満点だぜ。気に入った。俺はてめえの息の根を止めたら顔面耕してやろうと誓ってたが、そいつは取り消してやるぜ。
感情に任せて。
Good lord.
Oh god.
Good lord.
すでにわらわのゲームは始まっているのだぞ。
That's fucking inhuman.
わらわは今回は綺麗に死体を残すことを決め、なぜだかわかるか。前回のゲームでそなたがわらわの存在を否定するとき、こう考えて否定したである。それは顔面が潰され遺体の身元が確認できる。だから身代わりの死体を用意してアリバイを作った可能性が否定できない。その可能性が排除できない限り人間犯人説は維持できる。
なんだと
さあバトラー、
バトラー、
男女の検視を任せてよいのか。ミステリーの古典では検視の医者がグルというのが伝統なのだろう。なら南條に検視を任せるな。そなたが自らするがよい。間違いなく6人の死体が当人で死んだふりなどでなく本当に死んでいることを十分に確認するがいい。お前の父親が母親が腹を裂かれて臓物を引きずり出されて殺されていることを腹に手を入れてその手触りで確認するがいい。
泣かねえ。チキショーチキショー、泣かねえぞ俺は。
Bowler suddenly yelled. His tears were still dripping down, but as though scolding himself for being girly, he slapped his face hard several times with both his hands. Even so, the tears still wouldn't stop. However, he felt a hot blaze ignite in both his eyes.
これだけの仕事を決めやがった野郎に髪はがっちり返させていただくぜ。なら泣く時じゃねえ。自分のすべきことを考えろ。ああ、ダメだぜ、全然ダメだ。涙を流す暇があったら考えろ。涙腺なんかひるませる時じゃね
え。Rather than pure hatred, maybe it was more of an invasive hatred to blot out his sadness. However, it gave a little courage to George and Jessica, who were being crushed by sadness.
そうだね。僕たちが泣いても怒ってしまった現実は変わらない。
じゃあどうすりゃいいんだ。私は父さんと母さんのために何をすればいいんだよ。
ローザ様、戻りました。
郷田さん、警察はどうでしたか。
Maybe they couldn't connect.
対応の指示は。
Of course they can. It's probably the
いつ
same
頃
as
来られ
last
そうだと言っていましたか。
The radio doesn't work
それ
either
が
with that.
電話が故障のようでして、非常用の無線機も試してはみたのですが、その天候のせいでしょうか、こちらも通じず。
なんです。じゃあ警察に連絡がつかないということなの。あいつだ。あいつが電話線とかに細工して警察に電話ができないようにしたんだ。
By her, you mean the witch, I guess. When she heard that the telephone lines were out of order, Jessica immediately decided it was the work of the mysterious guests. Her eyes were bright red, so after so much crying, they began to grow even more red with rage. What's the truth, Jessica? Witches don't exist.
Of course not.
ジェシカちゃん、お待ちなさい。郷田さん、カノ君、行って。
はい、お嬢様、お待ちを。
Covering her unfocused sadness with anger, Jessica ran outside, torn apart by emotion. Thinking about it hastily, maybe the mysterious guest, Beatrice, who had arrived yesterday, was suspicious. However, at the current time, there was absolutely no proof that she was the culprit. At this moment, she was nothing more than a simple guest, and only one of the many. So Rosa had to make an adult situation and stop Jessica in her hasty rampage. Goda and Cunningham realized immediately, and that chased after her.
誰にも招かれなかった客人、ベアトリーチェが犯人なんだろうか。
ジェシカの気持ちもわかる。そう思い込みたい気持ちは誰でもいいから犯人ってことにして横っ面をぶっ飛ばしてやりたい気持ちがある。
Doesn't matter.
その前に はっきりと理解する必要がある。ベアトリーチェってのは何者なんだ。俺は顔すら見てねえぜ。
Oh my god.
Oh no.
お屋敷に大きな肖像画で飾られてたよ。あれだけ見てまだ覚えられないのかな。
なんだよマリア、こんな状況で何がおかしいよ。
ベアトリーチェは魔女なんだよ。そして黄金鏡の扉を開くための儀式がいよいよ始まったの。この6人はその生贄なんだよ。さあさあ始まるよ、魔女の宴が。今宵はハロウィン。魔女たちが今こそ祝い集う。
It's on the table.
Well, that's how they described like what was going on when they first walked into the chapel as a banquet. Or as
マリア、
like
その気持ち悪い声で笑うのをやめなさいっていつも言ってるでしょ。
The crisp sound of Rosa slapping Maria's cheek echoed through the high-ceilinged chapel. It kind of feels like ever since the rain started yesterday, no, ever since the island had become wrapped up in the typhoon, something has gone crazy. I had arrived in Makejima where it was clear and had taken a nap because I had gotten up early. When I woke up, it had already started raining, and after I got up, that's when it all started. Suddenly, a mysterious visitor had arrived, calling herself the Golden Rich Beatrice, and it felt like the world had been spewing bit by bit into something insane. What had happened while I was taking that nap? During that time, had this island been cut off, trapped in a different world, and common sense doesn't apply? Who is this person called Beatrice? Is she some unknown person trying to involve themselves with inheritance problems, just like her parents were freaking out about dinner last night? Or is the culprit the witch from the Legend of Gold, like Maria says? Even if Jessica hadn't let her short temper get better for her in this situation, the visitor was probably the most suspicious, but we mustn't jump to conclusions like that. Yeah, that's no good, no goddamn good at all. I smacked my face with both hands again, cooling my brain before it overheated. Even though it might have been a waste of effort.
これはおじい様の封筒。
On a tray piled up with sweets that decorated the table, Georgianiki found a Western envelope which had the Ushirame family crest done in gold leaf. It was unopened.
ってことは、それは俺たち宛てってことじゃねえの。親父たちが読んだものだったなら開封されてるはずだぜ。
その推理は正解のようだよ。
Babbler & Co. Happy Halloween!
書いてある。残されし者たちへ。
to those who
それ
remain.
は犯人が残した手紙なの。中身は。
兄貴、開けようぜ。
After numbing suddenly, Georgianiki opened it. A folded letter came out.
読むよ。六軒島へようこそ。後ろ宮家の皆様が、私は金蔵様にお仕えしております当家顧問錬金術師のベアトリーチェと申します。
That letter really was a joke. Miss Beatrice, called herself the family alchemist, had announced that she was collecting the gold that she had lent grandfather along with the interest. That interest was everything that grandfather had created. Since the tragedy right before our eyes, this paragraph was read aloud, it clearly wasn't just referring to the wealth that grandfather had built up.
But the
It was
children.
literal.
Yeah.
Everything that grandfather had given birth to. In other words, all of grandfather's descendants were included in the interest.
ふざけやがって。なんてめちゃくちゃな契約だ。黄金の利子は命だってのかよ。そんなのまるで悪魔の契約じゃねえかよ。それで魔女気取りってわけか。笑わせやがるぜ。
特別条項。ただし隠された契約の黄金を暴いた者が現れた時、ベアトリーチェはこの権利を全て永遠に放棄しなければならない。黄金の隠し場所についてはすでに金蔵様が私の肖像画の下に碑文にて公示されております。つまりこういうことだね。もしこの殺人が利子の回収行為だというなら、それを止める条件としておじい様に与えた隠し黄金を探し出してみると、こいつ、そしてその秘密は例の肖像画の碑文に隠されているとも言ってる。
つまりこいつは魔女様の黄金の隠し場所を記した暗号文を 解けるものなら解いてみろと。そしてそれができなきゃ利子の回収をこの後も着々と進めていきますと。ぶっ殺してやる。上等だ。
バトラ君、これ。
The table had been full of sweets, so even though they had been read in the open, we'd assumed they were just sweets. I mean, come on, you find stuff like this a lot, right?
Oh.
You know, boxes of chocolate shaped like golden anklets.
Do you? Astute observation, Battler.
These are not boxes of candy.
He picks one up and tries to eat it. Huh. This isn't chocolate.
片翼のわしの紋章が刻印されてる。前に母さんが話してたのを聞いた。これはおじい様の黄金伝説の金塊だよ。
Gold ingots, 3 of them weighing a full 10 kilograms each, were piled up in the very center of the table. It was where the cake would be placed if it was a birthday party. In other words, this was without a doubt the birthday cake at the party known as the family conference.
これが本当に純度49のインゴットだったなら6000万円くらいの価値はある。バカ野郎、安すぎる。俺たちの親が6人も殺されて、そこに積まれた黄金がたったの6000万円だと。
60 million yen, so that's like $600,000.
Yeah.
I'd kill a parrot for $100,000.
Everything has a price, right?
Oh no.
I'm not saying that I would kill my parents for money. I would not do that.
No.
Not by a
No,
long
nobody
shot.
would. Nobody would.
Well, you never know. There are some fucked up people out there.
Yeah, that's true.
さあ始まったね。ベアトリどうせこの謎は誰にも解けないよ。だから絶対にベアトの勝ち。早く黄金鏡への扉をそしてマリアを連れてって。
Shut up, Maria. Fucking Maria is the creepiest fucking piece of
Little. Glass break. I've been waiting for it.
creepy glass break shit.
お嬢様、どうか気をお静めください。